Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us. I was kinda late, I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome, and happy Thursday, Friday Junior, to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. Of course, whenever you're listening to this, welcome and thank you for coming back to HWP. Of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host, creator, founder of this fabulous platform. My co host, Bianca Addison, was not able to join me on tonight, so it's just me, Oos, day one ish tonight for a new episode coming at you with news and gossipish and so many other things I wanted to discuss in wrestling. I hope you're having a pretty great March, a great Women's History Month. And of course, if you follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast or me at Queen Steph Hardy on Instagram and Twitter, I hope you've been enjoying the Women's History Month posts. It's been really fun coming up me and Bianca coming up with various women to highlight every day of this month, as well as we did for Black History Month. So of course, celebrate the women in your lives, whether they're cis women, trans women, or any other female identifying person in your life. Celebrate them, uplift them, and make them feel like they truly matter in this world. And just continue to just give them the very best that you can, because women hold up the world. Girls dream and move and propel the world forward, and this month is definitely one of the best months to highlight that in wrestling and out of wrestling. So yeah, and of course, with this being a female founded podcast, we just have to continue to spread the love throughout professional wrestling involving women of all kinds and throughout the world of different backgrounds and all the things. So, of course, there is so much to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. And I know it's been a minute, but we're going to start with news and gossipish because there is a lot to discuss. So, of course, if there's any story or any part of the show that fully resonates with you, feel free to light up the chat in the comments wherever you're watching, and just continue to keep the conversation going if you'd like. So, when it comes to news and gossipish, I have Mercedes Monet, my goat. She has not been on AEW here lately. She's on hiatus from All Elite Wrestling because she's been going all around the world, and I can't find my goat because she has been losing. It's not like she and all of her titles are going away little by little. Of course, she had been collecting championships, and at one point she even got to, I believe, 12 or maybe even 14 championships, but she has been losing them as of late since she lost to Chris Statlander for the AEW Women's World Championship at Full Gear last year. She lost the Ring of Honor Women's Television Championship to Red Velvet, who had previously held the title. She lost the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Championship to Alex Windsor, who is also on the AEW Women's roster. She lost the TBS title to Willow Nightingale, who's currently still holding it. She lost the CMLL World Women's Championship to Persephone, and she lost the Bestia Women's Championship to Swan. And and it was announced on Wednesday morning that Revolution Pro Wrestling will be housing a match for Mercedes Moné, taking on Alexis Falcon in the UK at Rev Pro High Stakes on March 21st this weekend. And it won't be an ordinary singles match because Mercedes is going to be putting the Body Slam, Scandinavian, and Discovery Scotland Women's Championships on the line. And it comes a week after she is scheduled to be in Paris, where she'll wrestle Ophelie for the EWA Women's Championship, and also wrestle for Ophelie's Rixay Women's Championship. So, in the midst of all of this, she really has been on a downward slope, and a lot of people are feeling like, oh my gosh, what was the point of her winning all these titles if she was just going to lose them, and all of the above. But of course, I've said this before on my show, and I believe it bears repeating. When it comes to Mercedes Moné, she is about the bottom line of women's wrestling. Her drive and her passion in life isn't just to uplift herself, it's to uplift others. And I wrote this in my top 10 Mercedes Moné matches of all time article with Daily DDT. I said that the way that she wrestles and the attention that she pays to her craft is sort of like a rising tide building, lifting all ships. Whenever women see her wrestle, they want to do better themselves if they're already in the game, or it inspires women to actually get into the game themselves if they weren't already in it. And Mercedes just has that vibe to her. She has that grit, she has that passion, she has that fire for women's wrestling. And because of that, she knows that with the platform that she currently has, if any woman beats her and has an amazing match with her, then they and their star will continue to rise. She's not all about herself. She never has been, and she never will be, as far as I can imagine. Because of course I've never met her. I'm just a huge, huge, huge fan of hers. But at the same time, women's wrestling is her passion, and as long as she can find a way to uplift others, she will always do that within women's wrestling, and of course foster into the future. Because she even had a wrestling camp in Italy, and she was giving a speech that said, for all you know, the next Mercedes Moné could be, amongst you. And that takes a certain amount of humility and a certain amount of, work ethic that that you've built up in order to be able to train the best and still feel that you are the best and prove that you are the best, while also feeding into the future of wrestling. Her and of course Bailey with her Lodestone Academy are cut from the same cloth. And I am just so happy to see Mercedes go on this world tour and watch all of these women rise. Because even in the last year with the PWI's Women's 150, we saw so many women on that list. If you want to go back and watch that interview I had with Lyric Swinton about it, so many women made that list due to the fact that they got put on people's radar because they fought Mercedes Moné. So no one can ever say that she is selfish and doesn't give to the women's wrestling business. Her mission is a lot larger than just collecting belts for her own ego. And I wish a lot of people would definitely understand that. So big ups to Mercedes Moné, even though it hurts to watch her lose all these titles, it's for the bottom line. And as long as it's for the betterment of women's wrestling as a whole, I'm okay with that. But I am ready for her to win that AEW Women's World Championship. I'm ready for that. I'm pumped for that. It's time. So, big ups to my goat, big ups to my girl. So, moving forward, in news and gossipish, 316 Day was this past Monday, and of course, this is the day where we celebrate the legacy and the awesomeness of Stone Cold Steve Austin, who, of course, radiated throughout our wrestling lives in the 90s as the anti-hero that we all know and love, who drunk beer after beer, gave middle finger after middle finger, and gave stunner after stunner to those in authority that would try to hold him back, driving Zambonis everywhere, beating up Booker T in a grocery store, attacking certain bosses in hospital rooms. Either way, he has really like captivated our lives in such a way that even now to this day, people are just excited to see him on TikTok hanging out on his farm with his cats. So it was just really cool to see all the creative ways in which people were celebrating 316 Day, even with WWE with their merch and different superstars with their with the merch that they had and doing different skits to pretend to be him and all of the above, even Danhausen getting in on the action. It was just really cool to see. But one of the funniest parts about 316 Day for me personally, as someone who lives down here in Alabama, we we went through some crazy weather within 48 hours. So that Sunday, we had to go through different tornadoes, wind advisories, and thunderstorms. But then after that, the temperature dropped drastically all the way down to maybe even the 30s or the 20s, all for it to snow the Monday morning afterward. So we literally had a stone cold Monday. We had a stone cold Steve Austin day, and it was legitimately cold. And I was just floored by everything that had happened because of course we're trying to transition into spring, right? But winter was like, nah, I got one more in me. And she slam dunked us with a random freeze warning and some snow in Alabama, all for it to melt and go away before 3 p.m. Central Standard Time and melt and with the sun out with clouds everywhere and all of the above. Now, I know that probably has little to nothing to do with wrestling, but I just think it's ironic that Alabama had a stone cold day on 316 day. So I just wanted to just sprinkle that tidbit in there. But of course, we're doing okay now. We've warmed up a tad. And everything's cool. And we didn't have to shut everything down completely because, like I said, it was only within the span of a few hours. It was cool, and 316 day was always is always just a fun day as a whole. I know a lot of wrestling fans thought that Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to be on the episode of Raw, but he wasn't. But his presence was there as they advertised different merchandising with him on it, and of course talked about their sale that they were having on shop.com for 31.6% off of different things, including WrestleMania tickets. So that was fun. We love Stone Cold Steve Austin here on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and continue to wish him much success and chill times with his solid ass cat. That's what he calls them. It's cool. Also, in news and gossipish, I wanted to use this announcement here that was made on Tuesday involving Stand and Deliver to transition into a different subject that I am passionate about. So, of course, if you may or may not know, NXT Stand and Deliver is going to be in St. Louis on Saturday, April the 4th, and it's going to be streaming for free on YouTube and also internationally on Netflix. So they're moving away from the Peacock side of things and just moving into streaming on YouTube, which is pretty cool for the most part because that's a little bit more accessible for people. But Shawn Michaels announced that Sexy Red, who is from St. Louis, is actually going to be at NXT Stand and Deliver Live. So I thought this was really cool considering over the past week her new song came out and there was a trend of Shawn Michaels in the 90s dancing, but it looks like he's dancing to the song where she's saying, he wanna hang with a bad bitch, he wanna hang with a bad bitch. And it's just really hilarious. So Shawn Michaels got a hold of it, and after, of course, the initial announcement that Stand and Deliver was happening, he did announce this past Tuesday that Sexy Red is going to be back on there. Now, of course, if you may or may not remember, she was on an episode of NXT when she revealed the NXT Women's North American title and what it was going to look like. And she even got into a bit of a tussle with a couple of the superstars as well. And she was a part of the entrance with Trick Williams and Javon Evans. And she just looked like she was just having a fun time when she was there. So it's cool to see. Women celebrities like her get involved in wrestling in this way and to see them get involved and want to get involved with NXT, which was for a long time considered the developmental and to a degree still is considered the developmental promotion. It's just really awesome. And I'm pretty sure it's going to expose different fans who never thought to watch NXT before to look at it because she's there. And of course, you have the cross pollination between wrestling fans and rap and all the things. So I think that's going to be really cool. But And talking about people like Sexy Red, we've seen celebrities like Vanessa Hudgens, who was at SmackDown this past week in Phoenix, Arizona, and her baseball playing husband, whose name I can't remember right now. I'm sorry. I think his name is Cole. But his first name is Cole. But and then also seeing people like Jelly Roll. It just makes me wonder, at what point are we going to see more women celebrities actually get involved in the ring? Now I know last year we did have Cardi B come and host SummerSlam, but she was only out there for a little bit. We didn't see much of her throughout the rest of the event, even though it was over the course of 2 days. So I don't know. I just feel this deep hunger, and I've always felt this deep hunger for seeing more female celebrity representation in the ring, because it's just like there's only so many times I can take, no shade, but there's only so many times I can take seeing Jelly Roll in a tag team match, or any other male celebrity in a match or whatever. Now, of course, if Bad Bunny wants to come back, that's always cool and everything. But here again, that's another man. I want to see what it would be like if a Vanessa Hudgens decided to get in ring. I want to know what it would be like if Megan Thee Stallion decided to get in ring, because, of course, her theme song, um, one of her hit songs is the theme song for SmackDown. So it's just kind of like, at what point are we going to, I don't know if it's just an interest thing or a fear thing or whatever it is. Um, I just want to see more women get in the ring. I know I was actually talking to a friend of mine who actually got to meet Vanessa on his job. And, it was just, and I was telling him, like, oh my God, I wish she would wrestle because she looks so happy. And he was just like, I don't think that's going to happen, but good luck with that manifestation. And I'm just like, look, I'm going to keep manifesting it. Okay. Because when it comes to wrestling, you just never know. You can never say never. So, not saying that, of course, do what you want to do with your body. Of course, women deserve the right to choose. But I just want to see what it looks like when more modern women celebrities get in the ring now. I want to see that now. Don't just be in the audience. Get involved with the things, please. So, yeah, I'm excited about Sexy Red, and I'm definitely was excited to see Vanessa Hudgens holding this amazing WrestleMania championship and just looking as happy and as beautiful as she can be at SmackDown. And it's just, I just want more women within the wrestling landscape when it comes to celebrities. So that's all for news and gossipish. And now we're going to move into what I liked in wrestling this week. Of course, I'm still looking to upgrade this graphic to involve Bianca in it as well. So yeah, but either way, it's going to be what I liked in wrestling this week. JD, thank you for joining us, or joining me on tonight, saying it's been a minute. Yeah, it has been a minute, but thank you for watching on Twitch. And thank everyone for watching live if you are watching live. And if you watch this later, of course, you're more than free to do so on the YouTube channel. Go subscribe, and share all the clips and stuff. So, when it comes to SmackDown, of course, we're going to start with the women. I love the match between WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill and Michin. I know we've seen them fight multiple times before, but this time it felt a lot more crisper, and I feel like Michin was definitely at her very best here within this match. Um, of course, Jade came out looking strong within the match, but either way, both women did an excellent job, and I would just love to see Michin utilized a whole lot more than to just be the punching bag for the star that's being put out there and uplifted towards something else. Because I just feel like, though it is WrestleMania season, and of course Jade is the champion, I feel like Michin is more than just a good hand. There's so much more to her that I just feel like needs to be explored. And the way that she performed Friday definitely gave credence to the fact that she deserves a whole lot more spotlight than she has been getting. Now I know she did come back from injury, but even before she came back from injury, it just felt like there wasn't much for her outside of wanting to beat up Jade and teach her a lesson and be more extreme with the kendo sticks and all of the above. Like, there's more to her than that. And within this 3-hour show, there needs to be more highlighted with the women who are just sort of pushed to the background. And I just want more from Michin. So yeah, I need more for her because this match that she had with Jade was great and it was really cool. So while Jade won this match and she was sort of jaw jacking at everyone and talking trash and everything about how she was going to beat Rhea at WrestleMania, Rhea Ripley comes out and of course the crowd goes wild because everybody loves Rhea. Um, Rhea was just like, "Look, if you want to talk all this trash, why don't you fight me right now?" And then Jade sort of got out of the ring and was just like, "No, I'm going to fight you on my time." And then Rhea was like, "Look, you're going to put some respect on my name and you need to actually learn how to fight so you can come and fight me," and all of the above. And here again, something that I do like about this feud is the fact that um outside of the back and forth that they may have had on social media, I like the idea that they're feeding into the notion that a lot of people feel like that Jade is just aesthetically pleasing and not really like a tough fighter the way that Rhea Ripley is, because of course Ripley came through the indies and actually worked her way up, whereas people sort of resent Jade for taking more of an easier way through other forms of sports and then eventually moving into wrestling because she was interested in it. And I feel like that doesn't take away from her athleticism at all. But a lot of people just feel like, oh, well, Jade is just too new and she needs more this and she needs more that, in order to prove it to them. But I honestly feel like Jade is just fine because there have been plenty of other people in wrestling who have not had the same type of pedigree that Rhea Ripley has had, but yet they were allowed to skate on through without as much criticism, especially if they were a man and especially if they were a white man. So, with that in mind, I feel like Jade being graded harshly over and over again is just annoying. And I know that it comes from a very deep rooted, spiteful, and quite frankly, racist place at times because it's just like you feel resentment towards a black woman having it a lot easier. And it's just really annoying to me. And Jade Cargill can fight. She has gotten way better in the ring. She does put in her reps. I mean, what more do you want this girl to do? I just don't understand what people's obsession is with trying to humble her so bad. And it's just really annoying. Like, it's aggravating. So, Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley is a feud that I am very excited about because these are just two of the biggest female stars. And this match just screams WrestleMania to me. So, I'm excited about it. And I feel like Jade is doing just fine as a champion. She has evolved greatly. And I just can't wait to see what more that these two women come up with. I'm really pumped about it. So, yeah. Um, in the comments, let's see what's going on here. Um, JD is saying the hate for Jade is so forced. It is forced, and I feel like it's been extra for a while. It's been extra. I feel like she's gotten a lot of hate even when she was in AEW, but I feel like at this point, now that she's gotten to WWE and she has evolved and has trained and worked really hard, to a degree, I feel like the hate is forced at this point because she has spent years in the business already. It might not be as long as anyone else, but she has had a while in the business now and she's learned from the best. So I honestly feel like at this point it is forced. I agree with you there, JD. It is forced. And honestly, y'all just really need to find something else to talk about and find something else to pick apart because I really feel like because you see her pictures on Instagram, you think you've got her all figured out when in actuality you don't. So, yeah, she looks good and her muscles are amazing, but that doesn't mean that this woman still can't beat your ass. Like, y'all really need to chill. So, yeah, let's just move on. Jade is fine. This match is going to be cool, and y'all need to chill on Jade. Thank you. And stop being so obsessed with trying to humble black women in wrestling. Stop it. It's annoying. So as we move on with more of what I liked in wrestling this week, I love the fact that the Bella twins are back in the hunt for the women's tag team titles. The last time we saw them on TV was a couple of weeks ago on Raw, where they did make their return and said that they wanted to go for the titles. But we hadn't really seen them a lot since then. But then they did announce today that they've signed a 2-year deal with WWE. So that's going to be pretty cool. Um, and on SmackDown, before Charlotte and Alexa's match against the Irresistible Forces, Nia Jax and Lash Legend, the Bella Twins came out in front of their hometown crowd and said, "Look, we're next in line for whoever wins this tag team title match." All for the match to fall apart and not have a clear cut winner. Nia and Lash are still the champions. But of course, Alexa and Charlotte did not like the fact that the Bella Twins got into the mix of things. So it might look like we may be getting a multi-match, well, not a multi-match, a multi-tag team match at WrestleMania, maybe. I know the Bellas are fighting the Irresistible Forces, I believe, this week on SmackDown, if not next week. So I am really excited about that because if you think about modern women's tag teams, they were, the modern tag team of our time for the 2000s and the 2010s. If a tag team title or if a tag team division existed during their heyday, they would have easily had those titles won. So I'm really happy to see that they're going for it this time because these legends are out here proving that they can do all of the things that male legends can do. So I'm really pumped to see them go for these tag titles, and I want to see them have a run with it. I really want to see them have a run with those women's tag team titles because they're just the the modern tag team of our time when it comes to the women. Now, of course, they're not the OGs because back in the day, if you do your research, there was a women's tag division in the WWE/WWF. But of course, you got to go back in time and do your research there. But the Bella Twins, to me, are the perfect contenders for it. So I'm excited to see what they've got going on. And I hope that they do win it. Another thing that I liked with the women in wrestling on SmackDown was just the fact that someone in the form of Tiffany Stratton is challenging Julia for the Women's United States Championship. Because for a minute, I felt like Julia was walking around with that United States title as accessory and not something to be defended. And mind you, it's not her fault. I know that it's mostly on account of different things that they might have going on story wise and so many. And she has Kiana James there, and they were going for the tag titles. But at the same time, I'm just like, there's a United States Championship right there for the women. And at this point, if you're comparing mid card titles in the women's division, there is more emphasis placed on the tag titles and the women's IC titles than it is for the United States Championship. And that's a crying shame because in the midst of all these open challenges that are happening with all those titles, even in the men's division, why aren't we seeing that for the women's United States Championship? Julia is a highly decorated warrior, who fought with the likes of Kyrie Sane, who fought with the likes of Stephanie Vaquer and so many others. Why aren't we seeing more of that showcased while she's holding this championship again? Like it just boggles my mind and it's very disappointing. So when Tiffany Stratton came out and said that she wanted to challenge for it, I was so happy because yes, if you're going to have someone credible challenge for it, then it definitely needs like it could definitely be Tiffany. I would also argue it could also be Nikki Cross challenging for it. I also think, even Michin could challenge for it again. Either way, we need more challengers for this championship because I don't want to see it just go away mysteriously because they decided to just give up on it. Like the title is worthy of the attention that the IC title is getting and the women's tag titles are getting as well. So hopefully they'll fix that, and I'm just really happy that Tiffany actually challenged for it. And hilariously enough, she challenged for the championship while pushing Chelsea Green down the hallway in a wheelchair. And this part made me laugh so hard because she's just like, I want to challenge for the Women's United States Championship. And then up rose Chelsea in the wheelchair, like, hey, you need to shut up and all this other stuff. But then Tiffany's like, yeet. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, she just rolled her down the hallway. And all you hear in the background is Chelsea screaming, ah, in the back. And it was just so hilarious to me. That was so funny. But it's really interesting for me to see the dynamic between Tiffany and Chelsea. Because of course Chelsea feels like she should be the only women's United States champion. And I'm pretty sure she does not like the fact that Tiffany is challenging for that title. Because Chelsea still feels like she's the president with her secret Hervis. And then on top of that, these two have had it out for each other since Tiffany pushed her off the ladder at Money in the Bank 2024 in Toronto. This was one of the most insane spots I ever witnessed in my life. Um, because I was so happy to be there as media. So seeing this happen in real time was just crazy. Like she fell so fast, but I'm sure Chelsea felt like that was slow motion. But Tiffany Stratton was the one who did that in order to go forth and win Money in the Bank that year. So these two really have it out for each other. So I'm kind of glad that they're sort of revisiting their animosity here. I'm not sure if that's a part of the thought process within the writing team, but I think it's interesting that they're expressing that animosity now with Chelsea being angry that she's in the wheelchair and still trying to campaign to be United States champion again. But then you have Tiffany who's just like, no, this is the title that I want. So I'm really pumped about this. I'm sure Chelsea will be magically healed by WrestleMania. So it's going to be interesting to see. So yeah, I'm ready. Now, of course, as we move into the men on SmackDown, oh, Cody Rhodes, who won the undisputed WWE Championship. Congrats to him for that. He's a three-time world champion in WWE now because he beat Drew McIntyre for it. He had a contract signing with Randy Orton because, of course, Randy won the Elimination Chamber, which gave him a full stop ride to WrestleMania for whatever title he wanted to challenge for. So he challenged for that. Um, they had their contract signing, and the thing that I loved and something that got me very emotional about it, before all the madness happened, was just the fact that Cody was talking about his past with Randy and how when he first got to WWE, he saw Randy as a bit of a mentor to him because, of course, they were part of the faction called Legacy with Ted DiBiase Jr. as well. And all three of those men, of course, come from wrestling royal families, with Cody with his dad being Dusty, Randy and his dad and granddad being Cowboy Bob Orton, and his grandfather, whose name I can't remember right now. Charge it to my head, not my heart. And then Ted DiBiase with his father being the Million Dollar Man. So back in the day, they were a part of that faction together, and Cody just always looked at Randy as a brother. And even after he left WWE, he mentioned how Randy bigged him up on social media and said, "Look, he's going to be a world champion one day." And of course, with Cody leaving, creating AEW, and then of course coming back to WWE, all of these crazy things happened because Cody bet on himself, believed in himself, but also because Randy believed in him too. And Randy was like, this should be easy. This shouldn't be like this. But Cody is still showing him love because that's his brother, right? Randy decided to throw all that away. um, he decided to throw all that away, but before I get into him throwing it away, I got to talk about how emotional it made me hearing Cody say all that stuff because years ago when they were running around as Legacy beating up on everybody, I was a kid. I was a teenager, sort of like moving into preteen era Stephanie, and I was crying just sitting there realizing that I've watched these men go from in this legacy faction all the way to being umpteen time champions all over the world. And it's just like, man, like I've lived my life and set my life to so many different moments involving these people. And as a wrestling fan, it just humbles you a bit because you're just like, man, I've really been watching these people grow as I'm living and creating my own life. I'm 32 now, and I was watching them wrestle and fight each other when I was stressing out about what college I was going to go to. Like, it's crazy. So I was just sitting there crying about it. And then Randy decides to attack Cody Rhodes, beat him to a bloody pulp with a chair, and destroy him and give him sort of like a concerto into the steel steps and everything. And it was just such a crazy attack. And so he takes the title, sits in the chair in the middle of the ring, and he holds on to it because this man outwardly said, like, look, I want to be champion again. Like, I want to main event WrestleMania again. And now we're seeing the darkest form of Randy go for that now and sacrifice his brotherhood and friendship with Cody Rhodes in order to make that happen. Cody Cody's feuds at WrestleMania are just nothing without a good villain. And we've seen that over the last couple of years at WrestleMania 39 when he fought Roman, at WrestleMania 40 when he fought Roman and the entire bloodline, and the Cody Avengers helped him do it. Um, and then, of course, you have 41 when he fought villainous John Cena. Like, Cody main eventing all these WrestleManias is nothing without a really good villain to face. And him fighting Randy as his brother was just not gonna cut it. It would have been sweet, but it's not gonna cut it. And so now Randy had to beat him to a bloody pulp. And of course, there's also the running joke online of people saying, "Look, it's not WrestleMania season until Cody gets his ass beat." And it's so true because he just gets beat up all the time. Leading into these matches, he got beat up by The Rock in Chicago in the rain. He got beat up by oh my god, he got beat up by John Cena when John Cena turned heel at Elimination Chamber. There's just he just takes the brunt of so much punishment when it's WrestleMania season. It's comical and it's sad at the same time. It's definitely a moment where you feel like you gotta laugh to keep from crying because he just goes through so much. It's like he tries to love these people and they're just like, did I just catch you trying to love me? I'm gonna beat you up. And it's just so sad. But yep, the contract signing is official and we're getting Randy Orton. And it looks like it's the legend killer Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. This was a very brutal segment, but it was really good. It got the blood pumping. People said, look, '09 Randy Orton is back. And here again, it's really crazy to think about because that was so long ago. We are in 2026. I'm not getting old, you are. Moving on. We also had Drew McIntyre at the beginning of the show getting in the face of Nick Aldis, basically blaming him for losing his championship to Cody on the last episode of SmackDown. And here again, he's getting in Nick Aldis's face as if he's daring him to beat him up or say something to him. He was like, "You need to fix this. You need to make this right," or blah, blah, blah. But then, of course, he quits, but then comes back to ruin the match for Jacob Fatu. And we'll get into that in a minute. But Drew McIntyre is just unhinged at this point. If nothing is going his way, then everybody has to be miserable. And it's just really annoying. But my thing is, if he wants to jump at Nick Aldis, fight him, I wish they would just pull the trigger and make it happen. I want to see Nick Aldis, strictly business Nick Aldis, NWA champion Nick Aldis, fight. I know he's a general manager, but I want Nick to fight Drew. I feel like I want Nick Aldis versus Drew McIntyre more than I want Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. And that's probably the unpopular thing to say, but I just have to be honest. I want to see Nick Aldis come up out that suit and let Drew McIntyre know that I mean business, boo. You and I fought back and forth in the Indies before you decided to come back in NXT and in WWE and blah, blah, blah. Let's go. Like, I want to see that at WrestleMania. I want to see Nick versus Drew. I'm sorry, Jacob Fatu. I love you down, but I want to see Nick Aldis versus Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, and that's just how I feel. Because the tension is just, it's right there. You can taste it. You can feel it. Oh God, make it happen. But yeah, he gonna keep getting in his face, and one day it's gonna be funny. Phoenix really did get a good show. Then I loved, this wasn't the picture from this episode of SmackDown, but I absolutely loved the interactions that Shinsuke Nakamura has with Tama Tonga. Now, of course, if you are not up on New Japan stuff or indie wrestling stuff, before Tama Tonga came to WWE, he was in New Japan as part of the Bullet Club for a long time. And then even before Shinsuke came through NXT and stuff, like he wrestled back and forth with him, in so many different places in Japan. And every time they speak to each other on SmackDown now, they always speak to each other in Japanese and in English. And it's just so cool. There's an element to it that's just like, this is a language that you and me understand. I'm on your level. And Shinsuke is waiting and chomping at the bit to see Tama Tonga step out of the MFT and Solo Sokoa shadow. Because, of course, Solo was just telling him, look, you need to guard this lantern with your life. Because, of course, the MFTs are still obsessed with the lantern of the Wyatt Six. And that's another thing that needs to be let go at this point. But whatever. And Shinsuke is just like, look, you used to be a warrior. At what point are you going to stop being the do boy for the MFTs? And Tama Tonga really isn't giving him that much, but at the same time, there's still something there. And I can't wait to see that manifest itself. But I enjoy these segments because they just have an unspoken bond. And I just want them to explore that a whole lot more. Now, I also have to say, I enjoyed the match between Trick Williams and Jacob Fatu. Um, And this is the part where I think I'm going to go off on a bit of a rant here because there seems to be people online who call themselves wrestling experts who always want to throw shade at Trick Williams because they feel like he isn't their type of wrestler. Now, here again, this sort of feeds into the conversation that I was having a bit when it comes to Jade Cargill and her background when it comes to wrestling. The same could also be said about Trick Williams. Yes, he had an unconventional way of getting into wrestling because he's always loved wrestling, but then he played football first, and then he's trained in wrestling, and then he got through the NXT program and became the champion and the person that we know him to be today. And that is 100% valid. I feel like there's no one uniform way to get into wrestling. And I low key feel like with the NIL things and also with so many other avenues that people get into wrestling now, they try so hard to negate them and make it seem like, oh, well, if you're not wrestling at this level, or if you're not wrestling like, say, a Will Ospreay, no shade to these people, or if I'm not or if they're not wrestling like this person or like this fave or this person who's always on my Wrestling Observer list or awards or whatever, then you're not that good of a wrestler. That irritates me. That narrative irritates me. It's so annoying because it's just like Trick Williams might not be your 5-star type of wrestler, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't put on good matches. That does not mean that he is any less intriguing in terms of his promos. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't look like a star either, because it's not just about wrestling, it's also about keeping people interested. And if it's one thing that Trick Williams is good at, that he has in spades, and that he has charisma. He keeps you interested. He has aura for days. This is probably a 6'5" black man from South Carolina who just looks like $1 million. And you want to be in his circle if you already aren't in his circle, because he just looks that cool. And it's not just all about, oh, well, the 5-star this and, the match rate this and the work rate that and the blah, 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 blah. It's annoying. And it's 2026. There is more than one way to be a wrestling star. Wrestling deserves to be as diverse as its audience is. Wrestling deserves to be as diverse as the fighting styles are because everybody doesn't just come from, MMA or doesn't come from, a grappling background or an Olympic wrestling background and all those things. Everybody doesn't come from that. But wrestling should be open to those who don't because they're willing to learn it. So, I feel like people who call themselves wrestling experts really need to get off Trick Williams because that man has everything he needs. And I've said this before, but I think I'll say it again. He has everything he needs to be a star. He has the athletic ability, he has the passion, he has it all. He has it all. Whether as a heel, a face, or whatever, he has it all. And then, most importantly of all, he has a catchy theme song to go with it. So, I mean, we're having fun over here. And if you don't like it, then just go be miserable somewhere else. But yeah, Trick Williams had his match against Jacob Fatu, and it was really good. Both of these men did an excellent job. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, Drew McIntyre decided to get into the thick of things because him and Jacob are beefing. And he cost Jacob the match. And Trick Williams took advantage and covered him up for the 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm sure at some point we could see them fight again. And I would be open to it because it was, like I said, a really good match. But Trick Williams is just adding to his life and adding to his, accomplishments of all the people that he can fight against and beat, in on the main roster now. So I love this for him. I don't know. I hope he winds up on the WrestleMania card this year. It would be really cool if he did. It would be really cool if Carmelo did too. Because he wasn't on it last year. He could have been, but whatever. Um, but yeah, like I don't know what he's gonna do at WrestleMania this year, but he's doing so much media and stuff that you could almost assume that he would have a place on it. So big ups to Trick Williams, big ups to Jacob Fatu. Both of them are amazing talents, and they had an amazing match. And y'all gonna leave Trick alone. This is Tricky Two Times World, and we're just living in it, okay? Don't make me call 1-800 whoop that. So yeah. Now, this is a little bit different. I wanted to talk about my time at Retinal Pro Wrestling. So, this past weekend here in Birmingham, Alabama at Trim Tab Brewing, Retinal Pro Wrestling, Retinal DIY Punk Pro Wrestling had their March of the Pigs event that they have every March, of course. And I got to sit on commentary with it, with Ezra Brown. Shout out to him. He's a comedian. He's a local comedian, and he's such an awesome partner to have on commentary. And I enjoyed calling that action from bell to bell, from match to match. Everything was amazing about it. I had been to 2 retinal shows beforehand, and I just wanted to be a part of it because this is, that's my way of supporting my local indie, but also lending my voice to things because, of course, if you may or may not know, I am also a commentator. So if you want to book me for your wrestling shows in Alabama or out of Alabama, I do travel. DM me, email me, whatever, and we can try and make it happen. So I really loved being a part of this event, and I wanted to give a big shout out to the 4 women who were on the card, and that is, of course, Mackenzie Page, not Mackenzie Page. I'm sorry, that's not her name. I'm sorry, not Mackenzie Page, Kenzie Page of NWA fame, and also Clara Carter. These 2 women put on a heck of a match in the on the event, and I love getting to call it. These women brought their A game, and they brought their rivalry that they've been taking on the road everywhere since last year, and brought it to Birmingham. And it was such an honor to call this for them. I'm so proud of them and everything that they're doing throughout wrestling. And hopefully at some point we'll have, now that I think about it, I would really love it if Retinol had a women's title. I don't know if they do, but if they did have one, I feel like these two women should be like in the front runner for it. But I just wanted to give a big shout out to them because their match was amazing. And also, we had a six-person tag that involved um Saraya, not Saraya, but um excuse me. Um that's not how you pronounce her name. It's not Saraya, it's Saraya Saber, and Vivian Cross. These two women are fantastic. They were a part of the six-person tag, and they are highly decorated champions in the wrestling, in the indie wrestling circuit, as well as trailblazers when it comes to trans women in wrestling. And it was an honor to call action for them, and to, and I'm glad that Retinol offers a safe space for trans women to wrestle in as well. And as long as I'm working in wrestling, any person that is othered in any way, shape, or form has a safe space with me. I believe that trans women belong in sports, and definitely within wrestling. And as long as they have a voice and as long as they have the passion, then they deserve to go for all of the opportunities. And it was just an honor to meet them and an honor to be on the same card as them as a commentator. And I hope that pretty soon I will call more action for all of these women. So yeah, this is an LGBTQIA plus friendly show, and if you don't like it, then you can go somewhere else. And that's just how I feel about it. It was such an honor to be on commentary for these matches, and I'm just really pumped about these women and the future that they hold. And also, I have to give a huge, huge, huge shout out to the black talent that now rule over Retinal Pro Wrestling. I need to make this picture bigger, so hold on one second. This is House DeVille. Um, these they are a faction that were battling back and forth with the Carnies. Um, in Retinal Pro Wrestling for all of the titles. And Azriel Rowe, who is to your left and to the right, does holding all of the other titles. That is Bobby Chrono. They make up the tag team of House DeVille. They are now the new Retinal tag team champions. And in the middle is their leader, Noah Vale, who is the non binary icon. They are now the new Retinal heavyweight champion. And it was such an honor to see this black talent move to the top of the Retinal division, like, and win all the gold from the Carnies. And they have so much passion and so much fire. And I was just so honored to be there and to call that action for them and to witness that level of Black history happen. And I definitely love Noah and the promo that they cut after the match to Maxwell, who is the owner of Retinal. They want to fight everybody, and I am absolutely pumped to see how that happens. There's even an event that's centered on Noah at this point as the heavyweight champion. So I just can't wait to see the future of what's in store for House DeVale. But I just wanted to take some time on my show to send them congratulations, and to big them up, because seeing that level of black talent reach the top in front of me in my hometown was just so wonderful, and I don't take it for granted at all. So shout out and congratulations to House DeVille for winning the Retinal Heavyweight and Retinal Tag Team Championships. Um yeah. Support your local indies, guys. And of course, a big shout out to Keith as well, who is the son of the owner, Max, at Retinal Pro Wrestling. He was the bell ringer. He is also the center of Keith's Pro Wrestling Pizza Party. They had an event, um, I believe it was in January, because it was the same day as the Royal Rumble this year, that I was happy to go to. It was a pizza party and a wrestling event all mixed up in one. And there's Ezra, my commentary partner. They were so awesome to work with, and I hope I get to work with them again in the future. And there's me in the middle with my big afro and my big smile, and that big microphone I was holding. So yeah, gotta love it. Support your local indie. And this is the crowd that was there. The crowd was pretty much sold out. So big ups to all of those people who came out to support and yell and all the things. And shout out to my boyfriend for taking those pictures. So moving into Monday Night Raw and what I liked from there. Oh my God, guys. We got Bailey versus AJ for the women's IC championship. This made me so happy because, of course, a long time ago in Black and Gold NXT, when AJ was the Divas champion, she came down to NXT to fight Bailey. And it was just really cool to see the growth that has happened, from all the way back then, all the way up until now. And seeing them fight each other. And AJ is definitely proving in this day and age that she can still go with the best of them. And her and Bailey had an excellent match on Monday. It was really good. I want to see them fight again because I'm greedy. Um, and a lot of people, and on commentary and to a degree, on the show, they were labeling it as Bailey's last chance to go to WrestleMania if she had won that title and everything. Um, and I kind of hate that they're positioning it that way because, of course, last year she got attacked and didn't get to do WrestleMania because of, the actions of Becky Lynch, attacking her and then taking her place to tag with Lyra Valkyria. But I hate that Bailey, a horsewoman, feels like she has to prove that she belongs there. That doesn't make any sense because you don't get the modern women's revolution in WWE without Bailey. Here again, this is someone who is more than just a good hand and more than just somebody who can make someone look good. She deserves to be a star just like all the other horsewomen are. So why are we just out here acting like she isn't who she is? The match in Takeover Brooklyn does not happen without Bailey showing up and deciding that she wants to have a great match with Mercedes at that point. So why are we out here acting like, or why are they sort of positioning Bailey to look as if she's not worthy? It doesn't make any sense for her character to be scrapping like this because she should have a place, in my opinion. She really should have a place. It just doesn't make any sense. But either way, she had a fantastic match. They did show her backstage with Lyra um wanting to talk to Adam Pierce about, what the tag team thing is going to look like at WrestleMania, but I just at this point I don't know what it's going to take. Even if it means her even stabbing Lyra in the back or fighting her, I just want Bailey to just shine on her own because she deserves that spot. She's more than just a good hand. She's more than just the trainer to just feed into the next generation or help put over a legend. Like there's more to Bailey than that, and that needs to be expressed immediately. Otherwise, we're going to have a different conversation. So, as we move forward and talk more about the women, we also saw Becky Lynch. I didn't necessarily like this, but Becky decided to attack AJ after she retained the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And I understand that that Becky is upset that AJ has embarrassed her on multiple occasions over the past close to half a year, but I low key wanted Becky to stay away just a little bit longer and not beef with AJ over the IC title because I just feel like that thing is low key become her whole personality, and it's just kind of like, Becky, why can't you fight for something else? But or whatever, I don't know. But uh, because for a minute, a part of me really wanted to see other women step up to AJ for that title, but now we have Becky attacking again, and it's just like, bruh, why? Now, a part of me wonders if also the absence of Roxanne Perez could be feeding into this too, because I feel like Roxanne would have been an amazing challenger for AJ for the IC title, but I don't know. It just kind of frustrated me a bit to see Becky in the swing of things again when it comes to the IC title, but we just gotta wait and see. But I kind of wanted to see other women, fight AJ or feud with AJ for the title. But here we are, and Becky is out here trying to destroy AJ. So there's that. Also, something that disappointed me or has been disappointing me is seeing the cooling down of the beef between Natty and Maxine Dupree. I feel like there was a lot of anger and animosity between Natty and Maxine that felt hot in the beginning, but now it's just like, oh, well, let's just slam them together for a match now and have Natty continue to beat up on her until, something happens. And I feel like this feud deserves a bit more than that. And I feel like the character of Natty deserves a bit more than that because over the past year, we've seen Natty slash Natalia create this new persona for herself that shows that she isn't resting on her laurels, that shows that she's still hungry to prove that she is, the bar when it comes to women's wrestling, and that you have to cross her in order to make something of yourself in the women's wrestling business. So, with all of that being said, and with her transitioning her character of Natty into WWE, why isn't more being made of it? It felt like at first they had something, but now it's like they've sort of lost it. And I don't know if it's because they're having Maxine lose so much, or maybe it's because we're not seeing them as much on television, or at least on US TV, because there are promos that they are cutting that we as a US audience aren't seeing because of the commercials and stuff. But I don't know, there's just something missing about this feud that I really feel like shouldn't be missing about this feud. And it's disappointing me because I wanted to see Maxine rise to the occasion. I wanted to see Natty lock in and be more of a vicious villain. And I feel like there's still hope there, but I just don't want to just completely lose it. So, yeah, I just feel like there's something more that should be happening here that isn't clicking. And hopefully they can figure it out because it definitely deserves more. And then something interesting that happened here involving Maxine was when Bailey and Lyra were talking to each other um, about their possible place in WrestleMania. You had Austin Theory checking on Maxine as she was sitting down backstage, and then you have Logan Paul back there, asking him, "Yo, what are you doing? What, like, let's go, let's come on and try to talk to Adam Pearce so we can challenge the Usos and stuff." And I thought this was just really interesting. They're getting back into the storytelling in the background, and I really appreciate that because, of course, if you're eagle-eyed and if you watch TV too hard like I do, you can see stuff like this and be like, and then see another part of the story come to fruition from that, and it's just really cool. So there was that, and then on SmackDown, you saw Jade talking to B-Fab, which I thought was interesting because Jade Cargill and B-Fab had been beefing for months. So, yeah, the background tells a lot, and yeah, we really gotta keep our eyes peeled on what's been going on. Is the Vision trying to recruit a female member, or is Austin Theory really like the inside, um, has been like the not the inside, the double agent in tearing apart the Vision, and then he decides, and now he's decided he wants to, you know, to make a face turn and help Maxine. I don't know, but this is very intriguing, and I can't wait to see what comes from it. I'm very excited. Now, another thing involving the women that I have to discuss, and actually this is two-tiered in discussing Liv Morgan. I saw when I was posting my clips on TikTok. If you're not following me on TikTok, you can follow me at Steph_Hardy. I think that's my TikTok name. Yeah. But either way, if you look up Stephanie Hardy, you can find me on TikTok. I posted the clip where me and Bianca were talking about Liv leaning into the privilege in her last promo against Stephanie Vaquer, heating up their match for WrestleMania. And there were some people who were in the comment section who did not understand what we were talking about. And and then there were other people who were arguing on behalf of it. They were like, what privilege does she have? What privilege does she have? And I'm just sitting here like, bruh, were you not watching? I'm sorry. I know people might not, are probably not able to watch on a weekly basis due to so many different things. But a thing that kept coming up between Stephanie and Liv is the whole privilege dynamic, because Stephanie had to, you know, scratch and claw her way to WWE and fight, in the gyms that weren't necessarily the best when it came to wrestling and chilling and all of the above. Whereas when Liv got her tryout with WWE, she made it her first time and had the best of everything. That's what privilege is. And it was just people who were just trying really hard, or they were either trying really hard to not understand it, or they were just trying to just start an argument. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to argue with you on the internet. I post my clips and then I go. But if you get too disrespectful, I will block you. But my thing is, it's just like, that's the privilege that Liv was talking about. But then but secondly, I have to talk about how Liv in this episode of Raw just cut her promo on Finn Balor, saying that they had essentially clocked Finn from the beginning, and making it seem like they had planned on taking him out the entire time and all of the above. And it just made me so sad, because I believe Finn at one point was one of the main people who was sort of egging the flirtation of Liv and Dominic on when Rhea was still in the Judgment Day. So to see the dynamic switch is just really interesting. And then now it seems like Liv has her card really full, because she's cutting this promo on Finn and talking about what the Judgment Day is going to do, and all of the above. But less of her focus is being placed on Stephanie. It felt like last week she put more energy into beating up on Finn than she did beating up on Stephanie, the girl who she's supposed to be facing for the women's world title. And Liv, I'm gonna need for you to lock in. I'm gonna really need for you to lock in, because here again, your bravado is not going to carry you in a match against someone like Stephanie Vaquero, whose entire body is a weapon. It's not gonna work, ma'am. It's just not gonna work. So yeah, I'm gonna need for Liv to actually really lock in. And I know she has been posting her stuff on social media with her in the gym and everything else, with so many other WWE superstars in the performance center or whatnot. But it's gonna take a bit more than just that if you're going to face off against Stephanie. And now it just seems like she's got her mind on all the wrong things. So yeah, get in your women's business and get ready for Stephanie, because if not, Stephanie's gonna roll all over you like a train. But, it's crazy. But as we move on, I was happy to see Stephanie win her match against Raquel Rodriguez. Her and Raquel never really have a bad match, but I really feel like Raquel could have very well got this match won if it weren't for the fact that Liv um interfered somehow. But then Io Sky came in and stopped the interference, which I thought was very interesting. Um, and then Stephanie was able to take advantage and win the match. So Stephanie looked strong, and Raquel is just consistently having her momentum slowed down due to shenanigans. And I'm still wondering when she's going to address the elephant of Liv eliminating her at the Royal Rumble. They still haven't addressed that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now, as we move into talking about the men, I want to give a shout out to Oba Femi, the ruler. This man took a big leap as he stepped up to challenge Pumpkinhead. And for those who don't know, I call Brock Lesnar Pumpkinhead because I feel like he really should not be in WWE at this point. and I feel like they really don't need him at this point, so there's no point. Um, I know I said point like a billion times, but due to the allegations that were made against him in that federal suit involving um the sex trafficking, and I don't mean to trigger anybody that's been through anything like that. I'm so sorry. Um Involving sexual abuse case with Vince McMahon, I just don't feel like Brock Lesnar should be there. And that's why I call him things like Pumpkinhead. But since this happened, and since this is involving someone who I am actively supporting, I have to discuss it. Oba Femi really took on the open challenge for Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And then as Brock Lesnar was getting in the face of Seth Rollins and Seth Rollins ran off, Oba Femi lifted up Pumpkinhead and slammed him down and then stepped on his chest and pointed at the WrestleMania sign. So now it's official. We're getting this match. This is a match that fans have been clamoring for and waiting for a while. And I get it. And I wish that there were better circumstances that wasn't taking away from me enjoying this. I wish that, I mean, I mean, I meant to say, I wish that circumstances were better, um, to where it wouldn't take away from me enjoying this match, because honestly, he shouldn't be there. But since he is here, let's have someone squash him. Since he is here, since y'all want to make him a thing so bad in the year of our Lord 2026, let him get beat up by Oba Femi. Let the beast get slammed by the ruler. Y'all want him here so bad? Let somebody step up and take the crown from him, if he really even had a crown, to begin with. But a lot of people, even Kofi Kingston, called Oba Femi the Avenger. He's tweeted and said, "Oh shit, avenge us," as if to say that a black man needs to beat up on Pumpkinhead due to all the amount of times that he has beaten up on other people who have been champions who just so happen to have been black men, like Kofi, like Big E, like Bobby Lashley. Yeah, it's about time there is an Avenger. And if it is in the form of Oba Femi, then I love it. And he's going viral for it. And I think that's really cool. So, like I said, this is Oba Femi's world, and we're just living in it. And I'm here for him being the next big thing, because he is the next big thing. And I hope he does defeat Pumpkinhead at WrestleMania, because if not, there's going to be so much discourse surrounding it that's just going to exhaust me, and I don't feel like hearing it or dealing with it. So I hope that Oba wins for the sake of my mental for the sake of my mental health as a black woman. I hope he does win, because I just don't want to see him lose on that big of a stage. It's like he already lost the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see him lose at WrestleMania, especially after a performance like he gave Monday. This is Oba's world, and we are just living in it. The final boss of black men is going to take the beast down. So, yeah, I'm definitely here for this. It is Oba Mania time. Shout out to Lovely for coining that phrase. Also, when it comes to the men, that I loved the open challenge for the IC title that Penta and Dragon Lee had. This match ate down. Like, if you are looking for a good lucha match, um to get the blood pumping, this is one of them ones, because they put on a heck of a show in San Antonio for these people. They ate all the way down. It was just really, really good. And also, I want to give a shout out to WWE, because throughout this episode of Raw, you saw lots of great Hispanic representation throughout the show. With this match with Penta and Dragon Lee, you saw it with Stephanie Vaquer and Raquel Rodriguez, and then you saw it with Bailey versus AJ Lee. That was amazing representation on their part, and I just really loved it. So that was just really cool. So shout out to WWE for highlighting that, whether they meant to or not. I just thought that was just really interesting to notice. Um, so yeah, and then it just felt really good to see that level of representation there. But they were at their peak in this match. Like, if you missed it, I suggest you go back on Netflix, rewind or fast forward to whatever part you needed to get to, and watch this whole thing because it was really good. Dragon Lee gave his all. Of course, Penta is still the Intercontinental Champion, but baby, if they ever want to run it back, I'm here for it because this match was fire. It was amazing. And also with the men, speaking of Kofi, Kofi was still trying to get an answer from Javon Evans about possibly joining the New Day. And Javon really does not seem interested in it. He was not okay with it. And then he definitely wasn't okay with Kofi throwing shade at Dragon Lee after losing the IC title match and asking him if he was okay. And Kofi was calling him a loser and everything. And then Javon was like, look, I don't want to be a part of you, a part of the New Day if all y'all are doing is throwing shade at people and being mean. Like, that's not me. I'm good. Um, and then of course Danhausen comes in and he, curses Grayson Waller. And then before that, Grayson Waller got into it with Kofi. And for the life of me, I just don't understand why Grayson Waller was even a part of the New Day, to be honest. He's not Big G, he's not Big E. And I'm really just gonna need for the New Day to get back on track and get back to being happy. Because as good as Kofi and Xavier look as heels, I just want them to be happy again. I want the New Day to be happy again. I want them to do a full apology tour for Big E. I just want them to just make everything okay again and just be happy. And if Javon is a part of that, then I'll be okay with that as well. But as of right now, he's not in it. So I'm here for it. Also, I need Javon's shirt. WWE is not playing fair with their t-shirts. They're not. So yeah. And this is the part of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast that's going to sound like a complete roast. So I need y'all to prepare yourself for this hot fire that's about to come from my soul. Now, most of the time, I pride myself on being a chill, positive, and passionate girl when it comes to professional wrestling, and I try to be um, chill about things, but I also need to be passionate about the things that I don't like in terms of storylines and other things. But I'm not going to do a disservice to any of this. So I have to be honest about my feelings. This CM Punk and Roman Reigns feud has brought a lot of feelings out of me that I have not had in a long time because for a while, because of course Roman Reigns has not been at the top of the card the way that we were used to him being at the top of the card before Cody Rhodes came in and started challenging him and dismantling the bloodline board by board and all the things. So Roman Reigns had been gone for a while, but since last WrestleMania, I think Roman has been planting seeds and putting chess moves together to get back on top. And he's been sort of wearing this supportive family member mask. And he started wearing it for Jay when he was the world heavyweight champion. And he was like, well, I know you're new to being a champion, so if I were champion, I would do this. And he would always be giving like this sly way advice to Jay all the time and trying to turn him into him. But I think now he has gone full on villain again. And now now that he's won the Royal Rumble, he is really trying to put the pieces back together where him and his family and the bloodline are on top again. He's just going after a different title this time. And I just started feeling like that. I started feeling like that last year, but it's definitely coming into fruition now. And the more I watch Raw week to week, the more I realize that I was right even last year. So, yeah, Roman is definitely using the Usos at this point, and he's using the whole family dynamic to make them underneath him again. So if he wins the title against CM Punk, they'll all be on top. And I hate this dynamic. I hate it. And with his promos that he's been cutting, I feel like a lot of fans love the aura and the notion of the tribal chief version of Roman Reigns so much that I feel like it's clouding their judgment a bit. It's like they're saying, "Oh, well, the tribal chief Roman is so good on the microphone, he's actually cooking CM Punk." I do not think so at all. I do not think he's cooking CM Punk at all. I feel like you guys are just blinded by his aura and don't take into account at one point that y'all weren't even checking for Roman before the pandemic. Even after the point where he took a break because he was healing from his sickness and stuff. Y'all were okay with him, but y'all weren't okay with him. It was only after he turned heel and only after the bloodline stuff started happening during the pandemic where y'all started to really latch on to his aura and latch on to the whole tribal chief side of things. And now that he's getting back into the full fray of things with this WrestleMania and trying to get back on top again, y'all, it's blinding you to the idea that CM Punk is still very much that guy. I feel like so many wrestling fans at this point are making it seem like Roman Reigns is such a star that they're negating the fact that CM Punk is a star of his own making, not because he decided to just turn heel one day and after struggling with being a face for so long and struggling to be the next guy up for so long. CM Punk is a star because he made himself a star, because he made himself relevant by saying the things that were uncomfortable that other wrestling fans would talk about in places but not say outwardly. And he turned himself into a cult of personality. Wrestling the way that it exists now does not happen without CM Punk. We don't have an AEW without CM Punk. Um, Ring of Honor does not have the audience that it has without CM Punk actually mentioning it. Now, mind you, Ring of Honor existed before then, but when it comes to the mainstream, I just don't think people were even paying that much attention to ROH in the mainstream in that way without CM Punk because he wrestled there. There is a lot that Punk has offered to the wrestling business that outreaches and makes him more of an accessible star to a degree than Roman Reigns. And I feel like the popularity of Roman Reigns in his more recent years has blinded people to the truth of that. And that's something that I really just wanted to discuss on my show because a lot of the takes y'all have been pretty ridiculous when it comes to Punk. And I'm not saying that as a fan of just a fan of Punk. I'm saying that because this is really how I feel. And you also have the character of Roman Reigns now doing the whole family thing like, well, I'm part time because I want to be a full time dad because my dad wasn't always present because he was, wrestling and doing all the wrestling stuff just like the Usos' dad was, Rikishi and stuff. And mind you, I understand that. And I get that as a motivating factor. But at the same time, there are times where we've seen you not be, the father, and we've seen you doing all these side projects like being in movies and stuff. So let's not just do, oh well, I'm trying to be a full-time dad. Like we also see you doing all kinds of other stuff too and other ventures. So it's not just that. um then on top of that, you have him cutting the promo that he did Monday on CM Punk calling him old. And this disappointed me because out of all of the crazy stuff that he had been saying and how both of these men have been cursing back and forth at each other, the best thing you could say was that CM Punk was old. That's all you could say? Like that's the only thing you could say. It was that he's old. Like people were saying that he was old when he was in AEW and he was still putting on good matches. He puts on good matches now. Why are we doing the whole old thing? Like that felt really cheap to me. And I feel like he said better stuff in the last few weeks before this week. Like before he called CM Punk old, he said better things. So for him to sort of just go that womp, like him calling him old just went womp to me and I didn't like it. I was just like, okay, is that the best you can say? And then CM Punk reacted to it and hit him. And then Roman was like, ha ha, I'm in your head. I'm in your head. You see how he just goes off? If you just say one thing to him, he's unhinged. And he's going back to his gaslighting that he used to do back in the day, where he would make it seem like everything he would do was cool. But then if anybody else reacted that way, then they were in the wrong. It's annoying. It was really annoying. I was just like, so we're back to this. Okay. You're being a gaslighter and you're making it seem like he's unhinged for beating you up for calling you old. But my thing is, CM Punk has more respect for himself for beating you up for you calling him old than you had for your own dad. This man said he was going to bury you next to your father and you just watched him walk off from you. I know people might have different feelings about their fathers. That's 100% valid because everybody's journey is different. But let me just say, if anybody said anything bad about either one of my parents living, they're both living alive right now. Shout out to them. If anybody said anything that crazy about my parents, they're getting knocked out. You are either getting knocked out or you're getting cussed out or whatever, but you're going to be injured in some way, shape, or form. You let him walk off after he said he was going to bury you next to your father. But you want to throw shade at him for hitting you, for calling you old, for you calling him old? Please. That was a bitch move. I just really felt like that was a bitch move because, excuse me, your dad opened the doors for you. You let him say that about your dad, but you want to throw shade at him for hitting you because you called him old? Where they do that at? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Roman, and then another thing that Roman did that irritated me on Raw was the fact that he wanted everybody to acknowledge him in his entrance. But then when CM Punk was dapping up the fans and everything while his theme song was playing, which is a better theme song, I might add, he wanted to act like he was bored and yawning. And yes, I know that this he is a heel and this is what he was supposed to do because I know how wrestling works, guys. I've been watching this since I was 4. I know how wrestling works because before y'all get in my comments and talk about, oh well, he's the heel, he's supposed to. Da, da, da. I know how wrestling works. You don't have to mansplain anything to me. I was irritated because I'm just like, bro. So it's okay for you to take your sweet time getting to the ring and telling everybody to acknowledge you. But if CM Punk, the actual champion, wants to take his sweet time and enjoy his entrance, he can't do it. Babe, no. And I'm just so irritated because if he beats him at WrestleMania, it's just going to be a repeat of everything that we went through in the pandemic, a repeat of the family abuse, a repeat of the gaslighting, a repeat of him holding the title hostage and using everybody else to keep it. It's just going to be the same thing. And I'm just really irritated by that. And then on top of that, there's just the whole notion of him feeling like he would be a better champion. And I know and I know he's going to make Jay feel like, you know, you could be next up, but then snatch it away from him. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be cyclical all over again. And I love full circle storytelling, but I'm just going to be real irritated with it because it's just like, okay, I didn't like this the first time, and I'm definitely going to not like it the second time. But Roman Reigns and his aura, Roman Reigns and his star power, that makes it all okay, right? Yeah. So yeah, that ends my roast. So we're gonna move on. When it comes to NXT and the women, I loved the triple threat between JC Jane, Zarya, and Sol Ruka for the NXT Women's Championship. I love that in within this special episode of NXT, there were all of the title matches were highlighting the women. It was so cool. I was just like, yes, yes, yes. NXT does such an amazing job at highlighting their women's roster. There are times where I legitimately low key forget, not forget, but I just be like, man, if NXT was just a women's show, I would be happy with it because these women just give their all. And in this triple threat, they all gave their all, except of course JC Jane had the X factor of Fatal Attraction out there, and they were helping and essentially jumping on. And Zarya got distracted by them, so essentially, JC took advantage of that and fell into a cover to retain her title. And Zarya was frustrated with it, but then she was still angry at Soul. There's just a lot of layers here. And of course, Soul told Robert Stone in backstage after the match that she wants, another opportunity. And I'm pretty sure Zarya is gonna hate that. But my thing is Zarya, kind of let herself get distracted. So at what point is she gonna realize that sometimes it really might not be might not be everybody else. It really might just be her inability to lock in at the best of moments. So I don't know. But this match was really good and I enjoyed it. And then I was happy for Ren Sinclair winning the women's speed championship because Fatal Influence just knew. They just knew for sure that they were going to keep their titles, going into Stand and Deliver, right? Wrong. The Ren QCC reached their highest point because Ren won her first championship and then won it in her home state of Texas. So that was really cool. And I feel like NXT exists as the inverse of the main roster because sometimes, or at least most of the time, there are wrestlers in their hometown in WWE that don't do as well or don't really win in front of their hometown crowd or their home state crowd. Whereas in this episode of NXT, a lot of hometown or home state people got the win here between her and also Tatum Paxley. So that was really cool to see. She got really emotional about it. And then of course you had Kendall Gray with her as well. So it was just really nice. It was a good moment. And Fatal Influence was shook because now they only have one title left. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that happens or play out. But big ups to Ren. And then, of course, now you have Kalani Jordan trying to give unsolicited advice to Thea Hale and tell her, look, you just need to get on the dark side and be more selfish like I did. So you can be on top and everything and stop encouraging people because they don't care. And then you have Jada Parker coming behind and, defending her. And then Kendall was just, well, not Kendall, I'm sorry. Kalani was like, bruh, you got a lot to say for someone who just lost last week. And I was just like, dang. You hate to see it because I feel like just about every time Jada Parker has a lot of fire behind her, she always winds up losing. It makes me so sad. Like, why couldn't she continue her feud with Blake to a degree? But then again, I have my feelings about her um that can be that are very, very complicated. But not actually no, they're not complicated. But still, it's just she frustrates me. But either way, can Kalani just finds herself always aggressively getting in people's faces and always saying, "Look, you just need to have an attitude change like I did." And I'm just like, everybody's not meant to, you know, turn cold like you. Maybe you should get back to that sunny side. I don't know, but yeah, Kalani was just trying to rain on Thea Hale's parade and just stop her from being the nice girl, and it was just very frustrating. And like I said earlier in my show, trans women belong in sports. So yeah. And of course, I love the steel cage match involving Tatum Paxley and, in my opinion, the Cressida Cowper of NXT, Izzy Dame. I said that because I'm a Bridgerton fan, and I just feel like Izzy Dame just reminds me a lot of Cressida Calfer. But either way, that's no shade, but they just remind me of each other in so many different ways. Um, but this steel cage match was insane. It was really good. Izzy Dame proved that she could be a little bit more extreme when it comes to matches like this. And Tatum really shined a lot here and retained her title. So this was really awesome. But then of course you have Blake Monroe who wants her North American title back. So she kidnapped Tatum at the end of the show and snatched the title away from her. So I can't wait to see what happens with that. Blake Monroe is somebody who I kind of wanted to see hold on to the title a little bit more. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see her feud against someone like Tatum. But the program with Izzy and Tatum was really good too, and I love the cage match. And then I also loved seeing Booker T get his flowers at NXT. And I love that Vic Joseph was the one to announce to him that, since NXT was going to be in Houston, that was going to be Booker T Appreciation Night. Um, Booker T does so much. He's more than just a two-time Hall of Famer. Like he really is like a coach that feeds into the future at the PC and also with reality of wrestling. Shout out to all of those wrestlers and students who got to be on the episode and also those who are training, including Sherilyn Guerrero, friend of the pod. Look at that episode if you haven't already. But yeah, seeing Booker T get his flowers in front of his family, his wife, Queen Charmel, and his kids and everything was just really sweet. And I feel like outside of the Hall of Fame, more moments should happen like this where older wrestlers deserve to just get their flowers while they can smell them. So this was really sweet and really nice, and you can tell it made him feel very emotional to hear how much he's meant to so many wrestlers like Trick Williams and like JC Jane and Jasper Troy and so many others. So this was really sweet. And it was also very special for me because, he helped. I feel like in my mind, he raised me. When I was watching those WCW tapes with my dad, he was one of the main people on them with his brother Stevie Ray as Harlem Heat with Sensational Sherry and everything. So he was a part of my childhood, and I'm happy to have met him at Alabama Comic Con as well. So, and he gave me encouraging words from podcast for podcasting and everything. So it was just really nice to see him get his flowers or get more of his flowers here. It was really nice. But then it gets interrupted by angry ass Keanu Carver, who just wants to be like, nah, he don't deserve no flowers. I don't care about this. He needs to get out of my ring and blah 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 blah. But then in the midst of this, Jasper Troy comes out there and defends Booker T's honor. And it was just really amazing to see that these that these black men, it was really amazing to see these black men get the opportunity to shine underneath the shadow of Booker T with this appreciation segment. Um, and there were two sides of the same coin. Well, two sides of different coins here. You have Jasper stepping up to defend him, and then you have Keanu, who's just the gruff dude, who's just like rah, just angry. And I don't know. I just can't help but feel like since we're seeing so many legends come back, what if Booker T fought Keanu Carver? I don't know. That would be cool. He can still go. So I mean, yeah, Shawn Michaels cooking in the kitchen. What's up? Um, so yeah, um, I love seeing Booker T get involved, and get others involved in his appreciation night. It was just really cool. And then from a very nerdy perspective, from an NXT nerd perspective, I love seeing William Regal, the OG general manager of NXT, give Robert Stone advice as the new general manager. And he said that he wanted to talk to Shawn Michaels to see how he can make him the permanent GM. And I thought that was just really cool because if you've watched NXT back in the day, you know that William Regal was out here kicking ass and taking names as the OG GM. Then on top of that, it was at NXT, it was in NXT where his very viral War Games announcement became a thing. So it was just really cool to see that from a deep lore nerdy perspective. So this was a really cool thing. But then with him aligning with Birthright, it makes me wonder if he's just gonna if he's saying that to Robert Stone as a smokescreen, but then trying to get back in to take his job. I don't know. But yeah, I just thought this was really cool. And then you have the NXT championship picture involving Joe Hendry, the champion, yay! And Ricky Saints and All Ego Ethan Page. And even though, and because Ricky Saints has turned heel, him and Ethan Page have become friends now, which is kind of cute. But I think now it's about to run its course because they both want to go for the NXT championship. Ricky feels like he should have never lost it, but then Ethan Page wants to be greedy. And it's just, yeah, I'm gonna need for my Gambit to get back to himself. Okay. I want my Gambit to get back to happy absolute Ricky Saints because he's just not acting like himself. And I just feel like Ethan Page is such a good villain that if they're gonna fight each other, I'm gonna need for Ricky to get back to what I know him to be. Get back to my Gambit, please. Please, please, please. And for those who don't know, I call Ricky Saints my Gambit because he's from New Orleans with ties to Texas as well. So that's why I call him Gambit. It's X-Men lore. I know that he doesn't speak with the heavy Creole accent, but still, that's my Gambit, and I'm sticking to it. I want him to get back to himself, and I just want him to be good again. So if he's gonna be good again, I feel like him being good again will put him back on top, but I don't know. But either way, I don't want Ethan Page to get it again. I don't want Ethan Page to be NXT champion again. I really don't. So, I don't know. We'll see. But then of course you have Tony D'Angelo who is just like a dangerous gun at this point. He's just going after everybody, including Joe Hendry. So that's gonna be a different wrinkle in things too. But all in all, this week in wrestling has been pretty dope for the most part. The road to WrestleMania and the road to Stand and Deliver is really kicking off in major ways, and I'm just very, very pumped about it. So, we've reached the end of our time together. So thank you guys so much for watching me live. And of course, you can watch this or listen to this later. Like I always say at the end of my show, you can find and follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. You can also listen to the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts audio wise. And subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can watch every episode if you prefer to watch. Everywhere you can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on your TV and all the things. And every time I go live, whether it be for this show, HWP Extra, or Steph and Cat Talk Wow, which is coming out tomorrow, we're doing a triple episode, so that's going to be fun. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you'll be notified every time we go live so you won't miss anything, and continue to get those subscriber numbers up. And of course, you never know where you can find me. I might be in your city, I might be in my city, I might be at any other promotion. Either way, you just got to be careful because I might pop up anywhere wrestling is. So of course, if you want me to pop up at your wrestling show and do correspondent work, commentary, ring announcing, whatever, just DM me so we can talk about it, or email me so we can talk about it. And I'll be happy to add some fun pizzazz and crazy references, pop culture references to your show. So, of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, bye, y'all.